Okay guys, very quick update with Bitcoin. Just want to give you your key levels. As I mentioned in the previous video, I'll put a link up to that video now if you want to check it out. I have talked about this level here around 64,500. That is our key level that we need to pay attention to. That is now currently our resistance. I'm going to give you your major support levels below. And we'll talk about the distance to that ring. If we go sideways, the next point before we go parabolic. Otherwise, we could have some downside. We do have these key support levels below that should hold, so there'll be an ideal point to go long. We will cover a few things on a few charts. I'll give you your smaller time frame as well. Obviously, we were in a rising wedge we broke down from. I did discuss this in Discord. Not the cleanest of patterns, but look like we are in a rising wedge, support resistance. So once we break this point, your current resistance 66,225. Also, was showing that we were just underneath the top Bollinger Band the center Bollinger Band on the daily. And you can see that's what and I'll show you this as well. This blue line here is just I just created another line here and just moved it up as a parallel channel. So that was showing your resistance. Plus we were at the top of a rising wedge, which is typically a bearish pattern. And then I was showing the distance we were from that blue ring if we stayed above this D1 line, but now we are below that line as resistance, which means we're headed down to these lower targets, which we are going to cover. So we broke down from the rising wedge. I mentioned that this was a support level. It did hold temporarily, and then I gave the measured move, which is, and we'll cover this as well, that measured move breaking down from this rising wedge, and we'll cover a few other things as well. Guys, we get a leverage trading. 3 exchanges I use and trust are PingX, BitGet, and CoinCatch. If you want to sign up, all those links are pinned in the first comment description. Remember, CoinCatch is no KYC. Jump on that while you can. If you want to learn how to trade on BitGet, this tutorial video I put up teaching you how to open a long, a short, set a stop loss, adjust your stop loss, trigger orders, all that. I'll put this video now if you want to check it out. So just real quick, guys, just so you can see this is the rising wedge we were in. We did break down from this pattern, and just to show you guys one thing that I do, like this was obviously a rising wedge. It's hard to nail down. You get these crazy wicks. Market makers want to make it difficult to find out what pattern you're in. But you notice this line here. I'll make it thicker, different color so you can see it. Basically, you can see I just took this line where these wicks. See this wick here, here, and here. You see we came down and we found support right on that point, pushed back up as resistance and broke down from it. And you can see this line here. Now this line is a very important line on this H1 chart. It coincides with the line on the D1 chart, which we're going to cover. So now your key resistance above to pay attention to is around 64,700. I think on the D1 chart that's around 64,500. So if we push up, that would be the next point to open a short. You should have already shorted that point once we push back up to test it, but your point you should have shorted is when we broke down from this rising wedge. I'm going to give your support levels below and your most macro key support levels below. You'll notice this yellow trend line right here. This is what I think is the resistance level. If you'll notice right here, we pushed above. This was resistance. Notice we pushed above it, it became support. So to me, that shows that that line is valid. It became resistance, 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 resistance. So if we continue down past the measured move from this rising wedge, this will be your most macro support level, and that is on par with the D1 chart. So we'll cover that as well. So again, the D1 chart, as you can see here, 64,000. So next day of the candle is around 64,600. So again, let me make this very clear. 64,600 to 64,700 is your most important resistance level right now. We push up to that point. That is where you would want to open a short. If we get above that and hold support, then we could potentially go higher. That means your next key resistance level above will be this this blue trend line right here. So that's potentially around 67,652. In my opinion, that would be bullish. Now, I did make a post in Discord, and I mentioned this blue ring. Again, I've mentioned this blue ring in the previous, probably the last 3 or 4 videos. Go back and watch those if you'd like. I'll put up a link right now to one video where I was talking about macro targets. But this blue ring right here, we have never crossed one of these blue rings without getting a pump. But as I said in those previous videos, we could just move down this ring as resistance until we cross it. But we know when we cross this ring, we will get one hell of a pump because we have never crossed one of these blue fib circles without getting a pump. Now, the post I made in Discord at the time when we were above this line, if we held above this, and this is the line I'm talking about, this line right here, so this resistance level, if we held above that point, that would be bullish. Now that's resistance, but at the time, if we stayed above that white line, we were about 30 days before we would cross this ring. Now that we are dropping, we're getting further from this ring, which means we could have some more downside. Your most key support levels, as I mentioned, go back. Let me see why this isn't working here. So if you go back and watch a previous video that I linked, I had mentioned this yellow trend line, orange trend line, and red trend line. These are your most macro strongest support levels. Again, these lines go back since the beginning of Bitcoin. So your next point to potentially chance along, take note, this is the daily. This moving average right here, you can see is the bottom Bollinger Band on the daily. Right now that's sitting about 60,400, potentially down to 60,300. Your next support level to pay attention to is going to be right around 60K. But again, just want to make sure you understand what I'm talking about. If we do drop down, your next support levels, all right, 58,725. Your next key support level just below that, and we have a lot of support below us, guys. 57,222, and then your most key support level below that is around 55,131. And as I said, if at any point, if we continue down, and let me find my brush tool here. At any point we continue down, and this becomes resistance, okay? At any point this becomes resistance, then we know we have a lot more downside, and that means that 73,000. Close to 74,000 was our top for the cycle, and we have a lot of downside. That being said, if we hold above, all right, if we hold above 55,000, I would feel a lot better if we do not break below 57,000. To me, that probably means we're probably headed lower, but this is your most important level right now, around 55,160. But if these levels hold and we get a bounce and we cross this ring, all right, this is on the daily. If we cross this ring, we know we're going much higher. Until then, we need to pay attention to these support levels. But at any point we get below 55,161 around that area, we know it's game over. We have a lot more downside. So those are your most key levels to pay attention to on the daily. We will cover the weekly as well. I'm going to cover the smaller time frame here. This is the hourly. Oh, really? Come on. So again, you can see we broke down from this this rising wedge. And as I mentioned in Discord, the measured move, and again, the market makers send wicks up and down like crazy to make it hard to nail down. But just to give you an idea, breaking down from this point, we're pretty close to the measured move. So the measured move down from this rising wedge looks to be almost where we're at right now. That would be right at 62,500. We dropped down to 62,739 currently. Your next support level on the H1 chart that you'd want to chance along. And again, this is on the daily, so 61,735 would be a point to chance along. Your current resistance right now is right at 63,248. And as I said, the D1 chart. So again, you can see this yellow trend line here, right? This line right here. That was previous support and resistance, so that will also be a support level. Now, I'm not saying we would drop straight down. If we did, if we just broke right past 61,739, well, as I showed you in the D1 chart, 58,400 down to 57,883, it's going to be very strong support. That would be an ideal point to chance along. Your next key level just below that is right around 56,500. So as I said, a lot of support down around this area where you'd want to go long. However, at any point this becomes resistance, you need to start expecting that we're going to have a lot more downside. And again, as I said, this line up here, right? This line is your most key resistance. If we get back above 64,730, 64,700 around that area, and that becomes support, that will be bullish for more upside. That is a very key level, and that is right on par with the D1 chart. Sorry about that, guy. My phone's going off. So 64,600 around that area, and again, 64,700. See, that's a very key level to pay attention to. This is the weekly. As you can see, 54,000. Now this is the central Bollinger Band on the weekly. If we continue down, that would be an ideal point to chance along. If that becomes resistance, we have a lot more downside. And as you can see, this target right here is on par with the D1 chart and the H1 chart I just showed you. Looks like around the 55,000 area is a very key level. So if we continue down, ideal point to open along. However, if that becomes resistance, then we have a lot more downside. And as I said, this is that blue ring. We have never crossed one of these rings without getting a pump. That being said, it depends on when we cross it. We could move down a lot. We could price could continue down, just moving down like this, and then the point we cross it, that's where you go long. And if we do hold, if we continue down, we hold and we push back up. When we cross it here, this is where you go long. You buy in to ride it up. So just want to make sure you understand what's going on with these charts. Sorry guys, I didn't plan this too well. I just want to make sure you have these targets. And just to give you timing, so at current price right now, again, this is on the weekly. So if we continue sideways from here, you're looking at about 56 days. Let me go to the daily to give you a more accurate measurement to this ring. So at current price, so let's say that we do something like this. Let's say that we come down and we bounce off of let's say 59,500 around the area, and then we just continue to chop, move sideways. The timing before we make contact with that ring at current price right now, and that key support level, that yellow trend line, we're looking at potentially 48 to 50 days before we cross that ring. So if price goes sideways and we hold above 58K, we will cross this ring and get one hell of a pump, all right? Otherwise, if we break below these key support levels, then we pretty much know that we have a lot more downside. That means this ring will act as the previous, well, go back and watch that video. One of these rings acted as resistance. We moved down the inside of this ring, and then once we crossed it, that was the bottom around 16K before we pushed up. So again, just want to share those levels and timing for that move. Do pay attention to the weekly. It looks like 55K. Again, you can see all of this support all the way down 58K to 56K. You can see the central Bollinger Band on the weekly, 55,000, and you can see the D1 chart. These are the most key levels too long. So we have a lot of support below that should hold, but if it does not, and we keep breaking each one of these, 55K becomes resistance. It's time to get the hell out or open a short. Again, if you want to get access to these live charts in our Discord, if you want to sign up, the link's pinned in the first comment description. It's opticalartcrypto.com. You can pay with USDT, but you need to email me through the website. Also, email me through the website to get access to our Discord. And again, if you want to sign up for BitGet, BingX, and CoinCatch, 3 exchanges I use and trust, those links to sign up are pinned in the first comment description. And remember, CoinCatch is no KYC. But guys, that's pretty much it. Trade safe, trade smart. I'm out.